everybody, welcome back to Little Baking Annie. In this week's video, we'll be celebrating Mother's Day and I'll be showing you how to recreate this super cute naked cake. So whether you're a cake decorator or have no experience, this cake is simple enough that anyone can do. So for this cake, I used my go-to recipe for vanilla cake, but feel free to use your favorite cake recipe or even a cake mix. I also used Swiss meringue buttercream, but you can also use American buttercream or Italian buttercream. And I'll be sure to link any recipes that I use in my video. I'll link them down below. So without further delay, let's get started. So before we get started, I wanted to go over a few items that we'll be using to help you decorate your cake. First off, we're going to be using a turntable. This just makes it a lot easier to decorate your cake. Then I like to use a simple shelf liner, and I cut it up into a small square and I place it on my turntable, and what it does, it creates a grip. So when you put your cake on the turntable and you're applying pressure to it, it will keep the cake from sliding off. And then I have an 8-inch grease-proof cake board. Be sure, there's two different kinds. Be sure you get the grease-proof one, because if you don't, you're gonna start seeing the grease spots all over your cake board and it just doesn't make for a pretty presentation. Then we'll be using a bench scraper, a small offset spatula, and I have my Swiss meringue buttercream. You could use any kind of buttercream that you like. Right now I have the Swiss meringue, and the cake layers that I will be building the cake. So let's get started. All right, so we are going to first apply a little bit of Swiss meringue buttercream at the bottom, just so we could stick to our cake. Spread that out. And we always want to put the bottom layer of the cake towards the bottom. That way it could be nice and straight. Try to get it as straight as possible. And then we're just gonna pipe frosting all around to cover the cake. Smooth it out. And it doesn't matter if it goes on the sides, we're going to be using that as well. So it's definitely okay if it goes over. It's kind of what we want. Just smooth it out. Place our second layer. Make sure it's evenly placed. Okay. Go ahead and smooth that out. And we're going to repeat it until we get to the very top. So it depends on how many layers you want. Today we're going to be doing a 3-layer cake. And just make sure all of it is smooth. That way all the layers can be nice and even. And then the very top layer, we're gonna make sure that the bottom is right side up. And that way you can have it smooth, clean surface too, and not so many crumbs. So make sure that is even with your other layer. If not, you can even it out. There you go, squish it down. And we're gonna repeat the process. And this is just gonna be our crumb coat We want to seal in all those crumbs, but we're not going to cover it as much because this cake that I'm going to make is a naked cake. So we want it to be able to see through a little bit. You want to see the layers of the cake. So it's a super easy cake that we're making, so you don't want to overdo it with the frosting. Okay. A little bit more here. All right, and then now we're gonna work the sides and we're just gonna pipe around and then we'll start cleaning it up. Fill in all the gaps. And then you just start smoothing it out with your offset spatula. All right, and then you want to check and see, once it's covered, check and see if you have any gaps in there, and then that's when we're going to start using the bench scraper. All right, so now that we got our cake covered, we are now going to take our bench scraper and we're going to clean it up. Make sure that your bench scraper is hitting the board, and you don't want it straight onto the cake like this because it will really dig in. You're going to want it at like a 45-degree angle and then turn your turntable. You don't really have to put that much pressure in it. Keep the bench scraper at the same spot and your turntable will be doing the work for you. Okay, and then clean the bench scraper. You always want to go back with a clean bench scraper, and just until the point where you see that you like it, because we are going to do the naked cake, so you want to see where the cake is showing through. So we're going to scrape a little bit more off and continue to do it until we get really nice clean lines, and then we'll go back on top, okay? I'm kind of liking that. I kind of want to see a little bit more on this side. All right, so now that we got it the way we like it, it's showing enough. Even though this is a naked cake, I kind of still don't like too much showing. So I leave a little bit more frosting than other people. So you do it as much as you want to. All right, and now we can go with our spatula and clean up the edges on top. so now what we're gonna do is pop it into the refrigerator, let it chill for like about 10 to 15 minutes, and then we'll take it back out and add the second coat. All right, so now that we got our cake nice and chilled, we're gonna go back and kind of clean up the lines that we have. And it makes it a little bit easier because you can touch the frosting and it doesn't get on your fingers. So if there's anything that on top that is not straight and clean edges, we can go ahead and just cut that off, and it makes it a whole lot easier. And then we're gonna add a little bit of more frosting. If you see any gaps in between, there's a gap right there. Because this is gonna be a naked cake, we don't wanna put too much more frosting in there because we do wanna see the actual layers of the cake on there. So just fill in little gaps, that way the stuff that does have frosting on it, it could be nice and smooth. So let's go ahead and fill in any gaps right there. Kind of inspect it. So I'm almost quite happy with that. There's a couple of more little gaps that I want to show off. It's covering a little bit too much right there, so I kind of want to show a little more of the actual cake layers. So I'm going to work on that a little bit, but we're almost there. So you can work on it as much as you need to, or as little as you need to. So some people will stop right there. I'm just going to work a little bit more, just depending on how you like your cake to look. I think that looks pretty good. So the more you scrape it with the bench scraper, the more the frosting is going to push up. So you're going to want to go back. Once you're happy with the sides, you're going to go back and clean out the top edges. That way you can get nice, clean, and crisp edges. All right, and there you go. So I'm pretty happy with that, and I'm gonna go ahead and clean our turntable and our board. And now at this point, because I'm pretty happy the way it looks, that you can see some parts here and then this part over here is kind of covered, so it gives it a good balance. So now that we let our cake completely chill, this is the point where you can customize the cake however you want. You can add different embellishments, little rosettes of buttercream. You can add macarons, you can add chocolate covered strawberries, meringue kisses, however you want to decorate it. You can make it as fancy as you like, or you can make it as simple as you like. For the sake of this video, we are going to make it really simple and work with what we have. Here I have a couple of artificial flowers and some greenery, and I made a little cake topper that says Mom. So we're gonna be doing that and just keeping it really nice and simple. All right, we are just gonna see how we like it. We're gonna play around with it a little bit and see how you like it. If you don't like it, you can just rearrange it. Find out what part you like to be the front. I like this because it shows a little bit more of the cake layers. So that is going to be my front. So that's going to be my focal point. We could add a couple of flowers here. bunch them together so the greenery could show. Okay, and then we are going to add our cake topper. And there you have it, a super simple cake that you can make this weekend for your mom and make her feel extra special. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you do, give it a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe. And if you make any of these cakes or anything that I have on my channel, be sure to tag me on Instagram or Facebook at Little Baking Annie. Thanks for watching.